All right, we have shown how to solve quadratic inequalities by factoring, but now let's go ahead and look at how I want you to show your work when we're doing some graphing pieces with Desmos. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at that quadratic inequality, and we're going to give one side of the inequality a name and the other side a name. So for example, I may go ahead and take this piece right here. I may call it g of x. Okay, and then what I might do is go ahead and come up with another name for this side right here. Let's call that h of x, okay? And I'm going to type them into Desmos. So let's come over to Desmos. I'm going to say g of x is equal to x squared plus 10x plus 18. And then I'm going to give the other name, h of x equals to 2. Now the third line, so you can see that graph appearing right there. The third line is going to be the actual statement that we just typed in, the comparison that's there. So you'll notice that there's a comparison. That comparison says that g of x is going to be greater than h of x. So that's what I'm going to write here is g of x is greater than h of x. Okay, and I'm going to type that into my next line. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say g of x is greater than h of x. And this should actually show us and verify some of our work that we had from the algebraic piece. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go look for those intersections, okay? And we're going to click on those, okay? And you'll see -8, and then you will see -2 where those intersections are taking place. You can also see that on the x-axis, -8 and -2. Now, for our assignment purposes, what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and take a screenshot of that. And you're going to go ahead and take a little screenshot of that. And then what you'll do is you'll come back over and you're going to post that screenshot right onto your class kick. And the reason why we're going to do that is because what I want you to do is we're going to take those shadings and we're going to look at the answer in with inequalities and then also in interval notation. So what I'll be looking for you to do is say, okay, well, we know that we have an open circle because there's not an equal to. So I'm going to put an open circle here or right here. Doesn't really make a difference, okay? And we know that the shading is going to show us where the solution set is. And what that means is where is that quadratic greater than 2? Well, if 2 is right here, it is greater above it. So right up here, okay? So we're going to be shading on the outside, and that's what that graph is showing us, that it's on the outside. We can use the x-axis or we can use the actual place where that intersection would be taking place, okay? And what we're going to say is all this shading is x is greater than -2. And if we think back to interval notation, we would say, okay, well, this goes all the way out to infinity. So we would say -2 with a parenthesis set around that -2 because it's not included all the way up to infinity. In the middle, because there's no shading there, we would use that or symbol. Okay, and then we'd come over to the other side and we can do this the same way. We can look at the actual intersection or we can look at the x-axis, and we should be looking at both anyways. And we have an open circle at -8. Okay, and then all the shading is going to be to the left because that's where it is actually greater than. So we're going to say x's are less than -8. And if we want to, we know negative infinity is down here. We're going to have our interval notation, which is going to be negative infinity all the way up to -8 using parentheses sets because it is not included. So we would write our interval notation like this. We could write our inequalities like this. All right, y'all. I hope that helps you out with looking at the graph and solving quadratics inequalities by factoring. All right, go ahead and subscribe, y'all.